Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Coast to Coast Entertainment, and you're watching another episode of Sportsminute. Tonight, I have my co-hosts with me for the evening. We'll go ahead and we'll start out with first one. Well, now he dropped down here. He was in square one up here, but Mr. Big B, how you doing tonight?
Hey, I'm doing good. Feeling good. Baseball playoffs started. Twins get to the second round for the first time since 2002. So that's a good thing here. Hopefully they can keep it rolling, but they're going to need some bats.
All right, and then of course, Mr. James Gonzalez, how you doing tonight, my man?
2002 feels like so long ago. I've been really bad this week. I've missed work. I've had a couple of toothaches and headaches and fevers. October just seems to be an awful month. Despite that, it's almost Halloween, so I'm going to be putting some stuff out on the yard and putting that mask on every night. But let's get it going.
I feel you, dude. I'm a little bit under the weather tonight, so I apologize to everybody. And then, of course, Mr. Crispy Bacon, how are you doing tonight?
Doing good. Good day in sports. I know we'll probably talk about it soon, but hadn't been a bad day, so.
All right. Well, the first topic that we're going to start out with, to the surprise of some people, I mentioned this right before we came on here, that Urban Meyer is going to interview for the head coaching position at Michigan State after Mel Tucker was fired for misconduct. So, James, I'll go ahead and start out with you because I know you were going to have some interesting words that Urban Meyer was interviewing for Michigan State.
Yeah, Michigan State would be terribly wrong if they hired Urban Meyer. I know he has a lot of backers, especially in that conference. And thank you, Mel Tucker was the gentleman I was looking for that was fired a couple of weeks ago, or last week, I should say. Yeah, you'd be going from one controversy to another eventually if Meyer becomes the coach of the Spartans. He doesn't have a great track record. That goes all the way back to Utah, Florida, Ohio State, and of course with the NFL with the Jaguars. I would hope that the Spartans, and I know Tom Izzo will have will help in the search. So I know they're in good hands, but if they get Urban Meyer, I'm going to look down on the Spartans and just be like, hey, you want someone to be better, to act better, to do right, to be the head coach of your program after the controversy it's been through and still not out of. So I hope they don't pick Urban Meyer. I hope it's just a rumor, but you never know nowadays. I mean, the biggest name will get the notoriety and maybe the job. You see that with my Raiders with John Gruden and Josh McDaniels, and you just know, like, hey, those weren't the right guys at that time, but they were the big names. So I hope they don't go big name in East Lansing. We'll see what happens.
Well, you can even think about the time that Adam Gase got another head coaching job when everybody was like, how'd Adam Gase get a head coaching job again after that whole terrible debacle in the first place? But Big B, what's your thoughts about Urban Meyer interviewing for Michigan State?
I mean, yeah, like James said, you're gonna go talk to the big names. I think that's just what you're gonna do. I mean, Michigan State, if they were smart, they would stay away from controversy coaches right now and issues just after what they got through. I was trying to think of alumni that could come back and coach Michigan State. Right now, just nobody's coming to mind. Not saying they're not out there, but I mean, there's other coaching candidates out there that I think could help them. Singletary, maybe some other former coaches. But I mean, Singletary always jumps to mind. I don't know why he hasn't got another coach. I thought he did pretty good over there in San Fran, but I really hope Michigan State stays away from Urban Meyer. I just, you know, hopefully it's not, like you said, hopefully it's a rumor. But if they do interview him, hopefully it's not one of those where, okay, we're going to interview this guy and we're going to call it good, and that's who our guy is. So, Michigan State, do your due diligence and go out and do your interviewing.
I mean, when you think about Urban Meyer, though, like when he got hired in the NFL, everybody talked about how good of a college coach he actually
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he got hired by Michigan State. Maybe he could do a good job, but I know the controversy surrounding it is the reason why it's like, what would it do for the atmosphere at Michigan State? And I think that that's probably the biggest issue of all, because we know kind of what he made that atmosphere like in Jacksonville, when everybody thought he was going to be so big in Jacksonville, be a great coach in Jacksonville, but he destroyed everything about it. I mean, didn't even last a full year in
Yep.
Jacksonville because of the whole atmosphere and destroying everything. So, Crispy Bacon, what's your thoughts?
I mean, if you take out the controversies, which I know everybody's going to look at, and I understand that, but if you take those out, he is a proven coach. I can't remember how many programs he went to before Florida, but it seems like the schools he went to turned around after they had a bad season and turned them into a winning school, winning program. But it didn't work out in the NFL, and I think because of those controversies, kind of casts a dark cloud. But I think he could be a successful coach.
Okay, well, I don't think when things like that happen, though, they don't only look at what your track record on the field is. They also look at what your track record off the field is too, and
Right.
that and that's where a big thing like this is going to go.
But they do have a
what
lot
are
of
the players gonna
supporters,
think?
I heard.
They may have a lot of supporters, but what are the players going to think?
Right.
You also got to think about the players, and I think the players might be scared of, okay, this is what he caused in Jacksonville, so they'd probably be afraid of it. I mean, the way he talked to his players in Jacksonville, I would completely understand being a Michigan State player being like, yeah, I don't want to deal with that here. Because who's to say that when he was at Ohio State, it wasn't the same way? Who's to say when he
Right.
wasn't, I believe it was Florida, too, that, like, who's to say it wasn't like that there also? I don't know, but that's the only reason I brought this up. So I'm glad that everybody's on the same page and agreeing that Urban Meyer to Michigan State would not be the most ideal fit.
I mean, it wouldn't be ideal fit just because of what they're coming off of. Now, if it was just a rocky season, they fired, Tucker, maybe you bring in, Meyer, but just after what they come off, I don't think it's a good fit.
Mm-mm.
All right. Well, in the end, James, do you feel like Urban Meyer will get the position?
Man, I was thinking about it when everybody else was talking that he's kind of helped himself being on that Fox show every Saturday about college football. I think it's Kickoff or whatever it's called. So he's kind of helped himself within the public's eye. So that might help him get the job. I don't think it's going to happen though. I think maybe he's found his niche with doing television, and maybe a few more years, I think it'll be until he gets another head coaching job.
And Callan is saying absolutely not. MSU doesn't need another distraction with Urban Meyer in the wake of Mel Tucker's issues. and counting big noon Saturday kickoff. So
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, right there. All right. So now that we've had our talk on Urban Meyer and Michigan State, we can jump into our next topic, and this has been kind of something that I've been thinking about, and it's kind of been brought up here. That in 4 games, we have seen that that Jason saying at least Urban Meyer had consent. So that's messed up. But in the wake of the NFL season, we know it's been 4 weeks already. In 4 weeks' time, the Giants have scored a combined total of 41 points, and 30 some of that was in basically one game against the Cardinals. And we know how much money that Daniel Jones has been paid to be this big time quarterback. And I'll tell you what, this year, I understand that against Seattle, that O line was terrible. He got sacked 11 times in that game. So I don't know if Daniel Jones like pissed off his O line or whatever it was, but it seemed like the O line didn't care. They're like, yeah, just go through. You have a sack. You have a sack. You have a sack. You have a sack. But again, you still have to put some blame on Daniel Jones. This is not just offensive line. This is not just the defense. When Daniel Jones has times, he's making a lot of bad decisions too. He's making a lot of horrible throws, a lot of stupid interceptions. So all around, like, to me, this Giants team is not living up to the so-called hype it was supposed to. When people were talking about how good of a Giants team this was going to be, this Giants team has been bad. And how people talked about how the Cardinals were going to be the worst team in football at the beginning of the year. The Cardinals have not been the worst team. Josh Dobbs has made that team look kind of relevant in a way. Like, he's actually played well. The Giants, however, has looked freaking horrible. Like, they're bad. To me, it would have been between Chicago and the Giants for like the two worst teams in football. But Big B, before we get to you quick, Chris saying the Giants are a sad team. Jason saying Danny Dimes equals Daniel Fraud. And Chris saying Jones looks like he's about to crap his pants every time he's about to get sacked. So Big B, what do you feel like is the problem with the Giants? Why are the Giants not as good as they're supposed to be?
Man, it could be. I mean, like you said, it could be. It could just fall right on the quarterback right there. I mean, we kind of said last year they were going to have to pay one of or him or Barkley, and I think Ace, you're on the Barkley bandwagon, and I think I and most other people were just kind of let them both walk. I mean, they weren't really both serviceable. Barkley. I mean, if I had to decide one of the two, it'd be Barkley for the long term, but. Right now, I think it's just chemistry. Maybe they need to do the team only meeting and try to get on the same page. But if it keeps going, like you said, what was it, 41 points in 4 games? So that's roughly just over 10 points a game. If it keeps going bad, maybe they need to start looking at their bench players, see what they got, and blow this up next year and trade away assets and just go through a few years of rebuilding because right now it doesn't look like it's getting any better. Yes, I know things could change around. They could come out next week and blow everything up and be good or or keep going down the way they're going. So, but they don't score points. Yeah, you got to put on Danny Dimes, Barkley, the rest of the offense. You got to put the defense on notice too that they're not stopping anybody. But again, I think if I'm a Giants fan, I'd be worried and be wanting a blow up at the end of the year.
Well, Barkley has actually been hurt for 2 weeks, so.
Well, yeah. So I mean, if Barkley's hurt, I mean that's different things, but
yeah. But again, again, your offense still has to play better than what it has been playing. Absolutely. Like, there's no excuse for playing that bad. Now, I know the defense is allowing a ton of points too,
Yep.
and I understand that. But again, when your offense is not scoring points, your defense is on the field a lot, and that's going to wear your defense down. And it's going to be hard for your defense to stop anybody when they're getting so wore down because your offense isn't scoring points. So we have a few comments that are coming in to where Callan's saying the telling sign was when Brian Dable chucked aside the tablet on the sidelines after a drive where Jones was sacked numerous times. Jason saying it's sad when Zach Wilson is the best quarterback in New York.
Oh, wow.
True. Callan
That's
saying
bad.
new theory: stop putting the Giants on primetime TV. I
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, they had 5 games. They have 5 games, and they've played 3 of them so far.
And then Jason saying they're almost as bad as the Vikings.
Yep.
But all right, Crispy, what's your thoughts on the New York Giants?
The NFL gave them so much hype. I mean, they put them at 5 primetime games this year. They've played in 3 of them. They got 2 more left, and I don't know. They hyped him up so much. They thought Daniel Jones was going to be this top quarterback after he got his payday. I mean, they had a few good games last year, but I wouldn't call them, the best team, the better team. They're not that.
No, but in the defense of that, like they did make the playoffs last year. They did sign some new players this year that was supposed to make them better. They even traded for Darren Waller, which they thought that was going to help them. But Darren Waller hasn't done jack crap. Now, whether or not that's on him or whether or not that's on Daniel Jones, because Daniel Jones isn't finding him, it's really hard to tell. I truly feel like Darren Waller is actually a good tight end, and I do feel like Daniel Jones just is not finding him. But James, what's your thoughts on the New York Giants? What has gone wrong?
Yeah, that's what I kind of wondered about Darren Waller and his non-impact with the Giants. Remember when they got him in a trade, they thought, man, that's going to make the Giants even better. But he's out there just making, half-ass blocks, on the line.
Mm-hmm.
He's running these little ins and outs for like 2 or 3 yards, still not getting the ball. Daniel Jones, he's great. He's a great runner. There's no denying that. When he gets out of the pocket, when he's going forward, it's awesome. But when he goes vertical and then when he goes backwards, that's a big problem. Also, yeah, he's a little timid, or I should say, really timid when he has the ball in the pocket for a long time. Then he panics and he just gets a wallop like he did against Seattle 11 times. So I hope this isn't the case, but I have this theory: every time someone gets paid a lot of money, they just decide not to go as hard. I feel like that's the case with Daniel Jones. I feel like it was just a one-year wonder with the Giants last year. I'm hoping that's not really the case, but it probably is. But that's what I was worried about coming into this year. That's why I had him, I had him as a wild card, but, there was also that chance where they would be like this, where they would go back to their old ways. They would feel content with what they did last year and then know that, hey, there's no chance we can get past whatever we did last year, and have that mindset where there's no way we can beat last year. There's no way we can do it all over again. The defense is young, but they're supposed to be really good.
Mm-hmm.
And that hasn't happened. The offense, they did pick up some receivers, but they lost Richie James, and he was very important in the passing offense. Last year, especially against Minnesota, over the middle. He was really important. He got some key catches late in the game. And when I heard that he was retained, I was kind of worried about the Giants, and look what happened. So now, you can release Jones in a couple of years. After that, with Barkley, You don't really pay running backs, so I think eventually either he goes somewhere else. It's just a lost cause, honestly, for both teams in New Jersey.
Now, when you were saying that, the Giants could have reverted to this, I will tell you, when you say that the Giants could have reverted to this, I don't think you envision them being this bad.
No, but without Saquon Barkley, you can see it. But there were telling signs with Barkley playing in week 1. And then in week 2, remember, against Arizona, where he got hurt, they had to come back and win. And credit to Arizona. I love the way that they're playing. Nobody said, hey, they're in full tank mode. They're not trying this year, but damn it, they're giving it their all. Josh Dobbs is doing great. I'm really happy for the Cardinals and what they've been able to accomplish, whether it's wins or losses. At least you're in every damn game. You're not getting blown out like the Giants are every week. So I like what the Cardinals are doing.
Yeah. So Jason saying the Vikings don't deserve Justin Jefferson. The Falcons don't deserve Kyle Pitts. The Giants don't deserve Thibodeau or Waller. So, look, the whole thing with Kyle Pitts, I've got the free Kyle Pitts thing for sure in Atlanta because his talent is definitely getting wasted right now in Atlanta. Tim saying Daniel Jones and the Giants were a fluke last season. Maybe. I mean, I guess I could see that. NFL implemented a new rule. You have to count to 7 Mississippi before you can rush the Giants. And Callan saying, so which quarterback draft is worse? Chicago drafting Trubisky or the Giants drafting Daniel Jones? Well,
that's a good question.
I think that the Trubisky one is probably worse right now because Trubisky's not even on Chicago. He's a backup in Pittsburgh right now. And
the thing is if the Bears draft, because that's the Mahomes draft, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, so I mean that looks bad right there. Not saying that Mahomes would be Mahomes in Chicago, but looking for what we see, the Trubisky trade or the Trubisky draft over Mahomes is way worse than that.
Yeah, because they were so close to getting Mahomes, and I think they just decided to pass up on him.
I mean, I don't know any other quarterbacks in the Daniel Jones draft to really say about.
Josh Allen. Josh Allen was in that same draft.
That's a hit and miss.
Yeah, I guess we would have to look at it and see where Jones was drafted compared to those. But yeah, I would say right now Trubisky.
Guys, one thing about Darren Waller last season with the Raiders, he didn't play much. He had some nagging injuries, but it seemed like he could have played some games, but he just didn't really want to. So I'm kind of fearful that, again, it's a thing where, hey, I got my contract, I got my money guaranteed, I don't have to try as much. And I feel like he was traded over, remember, to the Giants this offseason from the Raiders. And that I have that feeling about Daniel Jones earning, getting his money, not having to go as hard, do as much. I have that same thing about Waller now.
Oh, yeah, that you're getting worried that he's going to essentially just give up because he got paid. Yeah, sometimes that happens, and that can be concerning.
In the Daniel Jones draft, you had Kyler Murray drafted in that same draft.
Yeah, he was drafted number 1.
Yeah, and then you had Daniel Jones. This is just quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And then you had Haskins.
Right.
Those were probably the top 3. Just in the first round.
Yeah, so no big names. I mean, so definitely the Trubisky Bears missing out on Mahomes is bigger.
Yeah, so Jason saying, I mean, how the hell do you draft Trubisky and then follow it up with Fields like WTF? Okay. So The one other quick thing on the NFL I wanted to bring up before we move on here was kind of what we were talking about before. Just a little bit, kind of. We were talking about the Cardinals. We were talking about Josh Dobbs. So if you're the Cardinals and you know that you invested in Kyler Murray, but you traded for Dobbs, Dobbs comes in. Dobbs is actually playing well. One thing Dobbs not doing, he's not turning the ball over. Okay, he's not doing that. And his completion percentage is like 69% or something like that. So he's actually pretty good with completions. He's not turning it over. I get it's not translating to wins. I I understand that, but I think he's playing fairly well. So if you're the Cardinals, when Kyler Murray's healthy and coming back, do you go with Kyler Murray or do you go with Josh Dobbs? So, James, if you're in this situation, are you rolling with Dobbs? Are you rolling with Kyler Murray?
I would tell Kyler Murray, hey, just take the year off. Come in, when you're supposed to, but go on, play your Call of Duty at the house. Just worry about that this year. Don't play this year. That's what I feel like is going to happen anyway. I think he was eligible to come back, but after 4 games, and on Monday I think it was, and he wasn't expected to, and he's not. So I feel like he's going to take the whole year off. I know they said sometime in December was the rumor, but I think this is one of those years where you're playing with house money. If you're the Cardinals, you just roll with whatever you have. And then the thing is with the Cardinals now, you put all that money into Kyler Murray, but you also have a top 5 pick, maybe number 1 if the Cardinals are who we thought they were. So maybe you go after Caleb Williams, but the thing is, you put him behind Murray, and then you figure nobody's going to want Murray, so you can't trade him. You have to eat up all that money and get Caleb Williams. But I don't think Caleb wants to play for the Cardinals. It has to be a big market team. So you're just stuck with Dobbs this year. Whatever happens, happens. It's one of those years you're playing free. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but I actually think that Dobbs has been playing better than what Murray has in the previous year. I think that's the situation you're in. And I know you're talking about, you go with Dobbs this year, but if Dobbs comes in and actually puts up numbers, but it doesn't translate to wins, it's like, okay, you're putting up the numbers, you're not turning the ball over, we're going in the right direction, and now you're talking about drafting Caleb Williams and putting him behind Kyler, but then you have Josh Dobbs, and it's like, okay, now what are you going to do? Because you have Dobbs and Kyler, and then if you draft Williams, it's like, oh crap, now we're kind of in a jumbled up mess here.
See, only if Josh Dobbs were leading this team to like a 3-1 record, then you'll say, okay, we really have to consider keeping him around to start him. But since they are where they are now, it just doesn't matter. If it was me, basically, I'd be looking forward to, whatever happens, but looking forward to the future.
No, and I get that. I'm just saying, like, if you look at the Cardinals now, if the ball falls one way, and 2 of those other 3 games, if it falls a certain direction and one play happens this way in those 2 games, the Cardinals could essentially be sitting at 3-1 instead of 1.
Oh yeah,
because that's how competitive they've actually been. Like,
I think they all look happier playing for Dobbs, the players, than they do Murray.
I think so too. And and that game against the Giants, they never should have lost that one.
Yeah.
But all right, so Big B, what's your thoughts? What do they do?
It's tough because if if Dobbs is putting up the numbers, you're hanging around ball games, he's not making mistakes. How can you sit him? I mean, now if you're getting blown out, I mean that's a different story. But but if he's hanging around and not making mistakes, how can you sit him? Again, I think J-Mac put in there that if they're 1-6, then okay, maybe you play Murray, play him half, do a dual quarterback just to kind of get Murray to show that he's healthy. So there's a trade partner, but I think if Dobbs is doing the job, I think you stay at the hot hand and you keep going with Dobbs.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, and that's even what Kellen's saying. You've got to ride the hot hand.
Yep.
All right, so Crispy, what's your thoughts, Kyler or Dobbs?
Dobbs. I'm kind of on the same page with Callan. Ride the hot hand, even though you're not winning per se, but if you're evaluating like a preseason, I think you would go with Dobbs over Murray. He hasn't turned the ball over really. He's doing better than Kyler Murray has done in 4 games.
Yeah,
The thing is though, Dobbs is a free agent after this year. He's gonna be a starter somewhere, whether it be in Arizona or somewhere else. And as it looks right now, Chicago, if the season ended today and the draft order is the way it is, Chicago has the first 2 picks.
So
That's not Arizona.
Yeah. So far this season, Dobbs' numbers, he's thrown four touchdowns. He hasn't thrown a pick yet, and he's got a passer rating of 99.4, and his completion percentage is at, let's see, what is his completion percentage currently? His completion percentage on the year is at a 70.7.
I think the key number there is 0 picks right now. I mean, that's the key number. He's not turning the ball over.
Absolutely. That's.
But has he had any fumbles?
He has not. What I think he might have fumbled once, but still, if he only fumbled once, the big thing is he's not throwing the ball to the other team. He's not throwing interceptions, and that's what teams are going to look at. It's what are your numbers like, and so, and kind of to me, Dobbs looks like he came out of nowhere because I don't think
he started a few games in Tennessee.
He did, but I don't think anybody expected Dobbs to do this, like to put up numbers like this.
It's just great to see him get an opportunity, though. I think that's all I ever wanted was a chance to start so many games, knowing that you're going to be the guy.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And Puka Nacua, yeah, he's kind of been a breakout guy too. But
yes.
So transitioning from the NFL, we will jump in to the MLB because we had the first round of the playoffs completed tonight. You had the wild card round. Surprisingly, every single game of the wild card rounds were all sweeps. Surprisingly. And I must say congratulations to Crispy. Congratulations to Big B. Now, Crispy, I know your Rangers are going in and they're playing the Orioles. All I got to say is good luck with that because that place is going to be rocking. And that's a very, very good Orioles team. And I know Big B, your Twins, they're going in and they're going to play the Astros. So hopefully the Twins can pull off the shocker there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I think right now we have one player that has the most experience in the postseason, Correa.
Correa, yeah,
Correa. But the team's young. I mean, that's why Baltimore kind of scares me because Baltimore's young. They played off the hook this year. I want my Twins to do good. You got to score more runs. I mean, you got to look at it. The Rangers scored 11 in 2 games. The Phillies scored how many in their 2 games? So, I mean, they're going to have to put up some numbers. Yes, if the pitching does win championships and stuff, but I still don't trust that pitching staff right now, and yes, they look good. Don't get me wrong, and people can at me whatever and just say, "How about those Twins?" I want them. I want to be wrong. I want them to do good. This is the first series win since 2002 when we took out Oakland. This is the first series we clinched at home since '91. So the Twins have a lot of history behind them of not doing good in the playoffs. So, yeah, I want to see the Twins in the World Series. I posted it. I just think right now, if I was a betting guy, Orioles, Braves in the World Series.
Now, yeah, and Jason saying what happened to the Rays. The Rays did what the Rays do. They had a really good regular season, and they just couldn't put it together in the playoffs. And
They spent it all. They went for the sprint right away. They spent it all within the first month of the season, and then they came back to earth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
13 game winning streak to start off.
Well, that first month, the Rays were untouchable.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, they definitely were.
Yeah.
And Crispy, you have to be happy with your Rangers. They were able to pull off the upset.
Yeah, I am. Now the question is, can they continue that? Looks like Scherzer has been, pitching in the bullpen a few times, but it's looking like mainly the ALCS. He might come back, but that's a long way from now. So
And they have to get there first. They have to get
Yep.
past Baltimore. So that's like one thing too. Is like right now, because we also know that the Phillies won, and we know that the Diamondbacks won. Essentially, I want to say, I don't think the Diamondbacks can beat the
Yeah.
Dodgers. I don't think they can. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope they can. But also, what worries me also is that a big one of my worries is that in the NLDS, what concerns me is that when the Braves go up against the Phillies, what is our pitching staff going to be like? Because we know that Charlie Morton is out. Haven't heard if Max Fried is going to be back exactly yet. And so if we don't have Max Fried, if we don't have Charlie, and we don't have Charlie Morton, and Kyle Wright just came back, and he's only pitched a few outings, and that's a major concern because he's not back to form yet. He's still trying to get back to form, so he's struggling. And then at that point, you have to rely on two young guys, and Bryce Elder and Spencer Strider, and I don't know if you can quite do that yet because they don't have enough playoff experience. So this NLDS actually concerns me. The only reason I'm saying that, Big B, is because you were thinking Orioles Braves, but I don't know. It concerns me because of the Braves pitching staff.
I totally get it. I mean, I totally get that. So,
do I think we can score enough runs? Absolutely. I think we can score enough runs. It's can our pitching staff prevent the Phillies from scoring runs, and I'm not so sure yet. But James, your thoughts on the wild card round? What surprised you, and what is your predictions for the ALDS and the NLDS?
First of all, I just hate how everybody here except me and Callan have their postseason teams in it. You suck. I just hate that fact. No, I'm rooting for all of you. You know what this wild card series reminded me of was when the NBA had their first round best of 5 series, and a lot of them really were either sweeps or a gentleman's sweep. Other from like the Nuggets in '94 over the Sonics. That's what it felt like. It felt like it was predictable in a way, but I didn't think Texas. They came in pretty hot. They took over, then they let the series go, or let the first place go like Tampa Bay did. Tampa Bay, remember, had a crazy season. They lost 3 starters, I believe. But the Rangers, you knew they had enough offense, so credit to them for just overscoring. And I know it was bad for the Rays to have their game start at 3 p.m. locally, and they have to cross those bridges to get there, the real fans that they have. in St. Pete, so the crowd was under 20,000 the first game. So that was really bad showing by the Rays on and off the field, I guess. But what can they do? For the Twins, they pitched good enough, so that was really good to see. Credit to Big B there. Toronto, even though they made some deadline moves, they didn't really – all season long, it seemed like they didn't really have – something was missing, it felt like. Even though they got to their goal of making the postseason and the wild card like I thought they would, something was missing all year long. And I think it hurt here. Jose Barrios had a bad start, and Snyder took him out after 47 pitches. That was kind of awkward there too. Analytics playing a role there.
Yeah, the team is complaining about that. There's been several posts, I guess.
Yeah, those two heads combining, gut feelings and then analytics butting heads there. With Arizona, man, credit to them. They've been playing well, other from 1 or 2 months. But they've done it with their speed. They've done it with their pitching. They've done it with their defense and just clutch hitting. It didn't need to be power hitting. It just had to be some clutch hitting. Milwaukee, I know they were without a Woodruff, but you would have figured they would have enough to win. But man, I think maybe it's time to trade Yelich. I just don't. He's not a game changer anymore. The Brewers. I don't know what they'll do with Greg Counsell now. I think he's a free agent in the managerial wise. We'll see if he's brought back. And then Philadelphia, you just knew was going to blow out.
Counsell
Miami.
will go to New York and be with David Stearns.
That would be nice. Yeah, that makes sense. Miami lost a couple of starters, but Philly had the power. They were coming in red hot, being the first wild card team there. You just knew that was going to happen. So Texas against Baltimore. I'm kind of worried about game one. Orioles, being a young team, they've had a lot of days off, and that's never a good thing for a young team, especially one that's really never been to the postseason like this team has. So maybe Texas will steal a game in Baltimore. I can definitely see that. I want to see Texas maybe steal a game there. I think that's going to be a great series. I'm going to say, damn it. I'm going to go with Baltimore, but I think it's going to be a 5-game series. Philly and Atlanta just got more interesting because you saw how Philadelphia did. Their aces went out and did well. But Atlanta's coming in banged up, but their offense is great, like Ace mentioned. I'm going to go with the Braves, but that's also going to go 5. I think it's going to be a total opposite than what we saw in the World Series. The Wild Card Series. Sadly, I think Houston, Minnesota, I think it's going to be a 4-game series. Houston will prevail eventually. They'll get their bullpen together. Their starters will do well. And then the Dodgers and Diamondbacks, like Ace mentioned, please, Arizona. But I think that series will probably go 4. I think the Dodgers will prevail. They've had their time off. I know they've had their starters be out all year long, and they're relying on young ones, but they also have an offense that can score very well. So I'm going to go with the Dodgers, the Astros, the Braves, and the Orioles.
All right. We turn this over to Callan. Callan, what is your predictions for the NLDS and the ALDS?
Well, first of all, it's kind of unfortunate that none of the wild card rounds went to game 3. But either way, it was still a good, couple days of baseball. Now we're in a lull till Saturday. But if I have to kind of give like a Cliff Notes version of what I saw with the wild card round is, I think the pressure caught up to Tampa Bay. I really do, because of the fact that they did all this winning in the regular season, 13-0, 14-0, and by the time they got to the end of the line, they were basically out of gas. And I don't think it helps though that they made 4 errors in the game on Tuesday. Yeah. Which I think kind of snowballed everything, and then the offense was MIA all 2 games. They didn't score a run until like late in game 2 when the Rangers had already pretty much body slammed them and put the dagger in them. But I'm happy for Bruce Bochy and for the Rangers. Boch, having been a manager here in San Diego for such a long time, and he's been a part of teams, guys, who've had these turnarounds. So like the Rangers lost like 90+ games, I think, last season. And here he comes in and makes them a 90-win ball club. And I think their offense is getting hot at the right time. I know they've had some of their, problems with pitching or whatnot. But, Evaldi threw well in game 2 today. They got a great start from Montgomery in game 1. So I think more than anything else, I think that falls on Tampa for kind of, winning a lot in the regular season and then kind of falling apart at the end where all the wheels come off. I agree with James, though, about Miami and Philadelphia. I think we knew that the Phillies were going to come out swinging, and they really did swing pretty much all in the whole course of the series. And, I think the Marlins, though, good for them to get back, though. But as you can tell, though, young team with no experience in the playoffs usually is a recipe for disaster. So no surprise there. A little surprised, though, about Arizona. I'm happy for a former teammate of mine, Kevin Ginkel, who threw a great inning in game 1, and then today kind of came in and got a little bit shelled there, but they still got to the inning unscathed, though. But happy for Arizona, though, kind of like long time coming. Again, they're not going to beat you with their offense. They'll beat you with, stealing bases and running the bases hard and playing the game smart that way. Beyond happy, too, for Minnesota breaking that long 18, 19-game playoff, losing streak, basically. And, seeing those fans get behind the Twins every 2-strike pitch that they were going to throw was just really, really cool. And I could really feel the energy in Minneapolis watching game 2 before I went to work today. But I do think, though, guys, and maybe this is a little bit ludicrous, but kind of thinking about last season and thinking about now with how baseball tweaked the playoff format, I'm really wondering, though, if that becomes another topic of emphasis, because I'm waiting for teams to kind of begin to complain about the time off. That the twos, like, I get the fact of, like, having the bye in there for the top 2 seeds. Like, this is what the NFL did before they added one more team. But I'm beginning to wonder, though, if there's going to be, like, complaints filed pretty soon by, like, the Dodgers, even Atlanta, or even, like, the top seeds who've been in this new modified or this new playoff format. Like, hey, the time off is cool, but we've been going nonstop day by day with one day off. Can we maybe modify this format to add 2 more teams or add 1 more team where maybe only just the best record in the league, like the NFL, gets the bye maybe? Now, again, that may sound desperate, like, well, your team's not in the postseason. That's not even on the board. I'm looking at this more of like the Braves, Dodgers, the Orioles, and the Astros, like, the 4 teams that got the top 2 seeds. Like, we've been playing the game nonstop since opening day. Yeah, we've had off days here and there, but not such a long lull between games. The All-Star break's one thing, but when you've been in the groove and rhythm, and then you have this much time off, look what happened to both Atlanta and even the Dodgers last season. And yes, Tim, I know that he can suck bad enough where you don't have to, you can get, if you don't want the bye, just tank the remainder of the season to get, 3, 4, 5, or 6. But I'm still kind of waiting, knowing kind of like how the players can be. I'm waiting for a formal complaint. Like, I'm shocked the Dodgers didn't file one after last season. Well, hey, we won 111 games. What gives? And then they get knocked out by, San Diego Padres, of all teams, knock them out last season. So, like, I get what Tim is saying, though, but I still would think, though, that if this sort of thing continues where, like, Tampa Bay stuff like this happens, I'm kind of waiting for, like, that shoe to drop where more and more teams say, hey, we've been already playing and, this has been a thing that we've been doing. And now that we've had this much time off, and you can only, replicate game speed like what the Dodgers and Braves and I think the Orioles were doing by having like these open workouts to have fans come in and kind of like prep for it. But I think there's going to be someone out there. It's a lot like, guys, I think reminds me a lot of how teams always complained about overtime in the NFL during the postseason, where it's different from the regular season. Like, Christy, I agree. There's going to be some team out there, probably the Dodgers, if they do not win in the next round, they're going to file a complaint saying, hey, this much time off is bad. Change your format. Add 2 more teams. Do something else to make it easier for us to play. Get rid of the buys or what have you. But in regards to DS predictions, I think the time off is going to hurt majority of these clubs that are playing in the next round because of that time off. I'm worried about Atlanta. I'm worried about the Dodgers and their pitching. I'm worried about a lot of things with those 2 teams, but I still feel like the Braves will get it done. I do think the Dodgers will get it done as well. Houston will get it done, and I also believe that Baltimore gets it done, though. And actually, Jason, I agree with you because I wanted to see that happen in 2020 when the Padres did last make it before last season. Why not reseed? Why bother having the NL West play each other in the DS and then have, I know it's your divisional round. I'm fully aware of that, but it still doesn't quite make sense. I think that they should be reseeded where maybe Arizona goes and plays Atlanta, Dodgers would play Philadelphia, just to like mix it up, and I think that was the thing that I think a lot of fans were vocal about in 2020 was, yeah, we can't be at the games, but at least like reseed, like, Padres, Dodgers in the NLCS would have been amazing that year. So, but across the board though, as much as I feel like the top seeds get the job done, I've been very leery just based on what we saw last season. The Dodgers win all those games. They bomb out. Braves bomb out last year to Philadelphia. The Padres beat the Dodgers. I know that Houston, I think, was still a top seed, and they got all the way through, though. But I'm going to be banking on, probably I'll go Braves in 5 more than likely. I think that one goes the distance. I mean, part of me thinks it'll be Dodgers in 3 just because, like, their offense is what it is. You already threw Zach Gallen. Can he come back on short rest? I know they'll have one extra day because they won't have to play game 3, but I feel like the Dodgers will sweep Arizona. And then over in the AL, I'm going to go Baltimore in 5 as well, and then Houston in 4 is where I'll probably go with here.
All right. So thank you for that. We were saving this final topic for until Callan hopped on so we could go ahead and jump into this final topic. We don't have a lot of time, so we'll try and do this as quick as we can. But we know what this final topic is, and we've been talking about this, saying let's do it, putting together our all-time teams for our favorite teams. So Big B, we'll start off with you with the Twins. What do you have for your Twins, your all-time Minnesota Twins team?
Now, are we just doing starting lineups, or are we doing like the whole?
We're doing just the starting lineups.
Okay. I had a lot of controversy. So let's see. So I'm going to go with Mauer behind the plate. As much as I thought, I mean, he has talent. Don't get me wrong. Going to go Herbeck at first. I'm going to go Chuck Knobloch at second. Guzman, I'm going to go at short. Gary Gaetti, the G-Man, at third. Torrey Hunter in left. Of course, I got to put Puckett in center. I'm going to go Tom Bernansky in right. Morneau's going to be my DH. They're going to be led by Tom Kelly, and my number 1 starter is going to be Jack Morris.
All right.
Good choice.
That's actually a great lineup there. I like it. All right, James, your all-time Angels lineup.
Oh God, when things are great. Catcher, let me get Benji Molina. First base, let me get Carew. No. No. I liked him though. Second base, give me Bobby Grich. Shortstop, give me David Eckstein. Third base, Glosser Figgins. I guess I'll go Troy Gloss. Left field, give me Garrett Anderson. Center, Mike Trout. Right field, Vladimir Guerrero.
Senior,
yeah, for those kids out there. Designated hitter, let me get Tim Salmon. On the mound would be, I guess Shohei Ohtani, but Nolan Ryan would be right there with him. My closer would be Percival over K-Rod, I guess.
Ooh.
All right. Chris, we do have your all-time lineup?
I don't. I couldn't really think of any.
Okay, that's fine. That's
Go
fine.
ahead.
Okay. So, excuse me. All right. So, my all-time Braves lineup, I was stuck between a few catchers to start out with, but behind the plate, I decided to go with Javi Lopez. I feel like it was between Javi Lopez and Brian McCann, but I felt like Javi
I
Lopez.
think Lopez was on probably a better era of Braves baseball,
Yeah.
honestly, because they won all those
Yeah.
division championships.
Yep.
Yeah. Brian McCann was there for a few, but he wasn't there for
Not as
much
many as
that.
Javi Lopez, yeah.
Yeah, and Javi Lopez was, I felt like the more all around guy, a better defensive player too.
Mhm.
True point. I agree.
For first baseman, of course, I got to go with Freddie Freeman. It was between Freddie and Galarraga, but I chose to go
Big cat.
with Freddie Freeman. Second base, I went with Marcus Giles. I was thinking about possibly like Limke or somebody like that, but I went with Giles. My shortstop, Rafael Furcal.
Solid.
I know, yeah, solid. I know that there was a lot of, his bat and
Over Swansby? Come on.
what
Over your guy from last year that you love?
over Dansby, absolutely over Dansby.
Even did you pick him over Walt Weiss too? Did he play short for Atlanta back in the day?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for a little bit, but I picked him over Weiss. Yes. My third baseman, without question, not even
Chipper.
a choice, Chipper Jones.
Oh yeah.
Not even debatable.
Pendleton would have been a close second.
So my outfield is kind of interesting. I switched some people around in various positions, but starting in right field, I kept Ronald Acuna in right field. And then center field, got to go with Andrew Jones, one of the best center fielders of all time. I went with him. And then left field, I actually went with Gary Sheffield. My DH is actually the big cat and Andres Galarraga. And then
nice.
My starting pitcher.
So many to choose from. Who's it going to be?
Right. My starting pitcher is Maddox, and there's a reason because my closer is Smoltz.
Yeah.
Oh, go Smoltzy is okay.
No Hank Aaron is?
No, because it had to be within the time frame that.
Oh.
Yeah,
so
we
Grisham
will decide.
for
Yeah.
me. Oh, okay. Adam Kennedy for my second baseman then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have went. I mean, Ace, I like that lineup. I think I would have went with the crime dog though at first. I mean, Fred what's that?
Fred McGriff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was close. Trust me, he was also up there too. It was close, but
I'm surprised you left David Justice off of there. I mean, he was good.
Joe Murphy, if you were alive.
Choices, but I feel like you had to take Andrew.
Yeah.
No,
I'm not arguing the lineup. I mean, because I didn't use any current ones, so I guess if you don't use current, then maybe Justice makes your roster. But
yeah,
no,
yeah.
But no, that's a sweet lineup.
All right, Callan, what is your lineup?
I mean, I've seen a lot of miserable Padre teams in 29 years, but honestly, there's only like a couple of years that like really stick out to me with the Friars, and the main one is the 98 Ball Club. Like that could literally be the team right there, with the exception of like a couple of guys. But catching wise, I had to go with Carlos Hernandez. That's like the main catcher that like I've known my whole life from the 98 squad. I mean, there's really has been like any other, big name catchers I can recall that has been with the Padres. First base, I would probably go with Wally Joyner. I mean, there's really not been a lot of other, Klesko played first, but he was at the back half of his career. And I remember him mainly being an outfielder when they moved to Petco in 2004. So I'd go Hernandez behind the plate, Joyner at first. Second base, I got to go with Mark Loretta. That is my second favorite all-time Padre of all time. He actually set the Padres single-season second base record for hits in a season in 2004. And cool nugget, he hit the last home run ever at Qualcomm before they left Qualcomm in 2003. So Loretta at second. Third base, I would go with Machado over Caminetti at third, because I think that Manny has not really dealt with a lot of injuries like Ken did back in 96. I know that, and Caminetti's still the only Padre to win MVP in club history in 96, though. But You know, I only saw Ken play for a bit in '98 before I think he left in free agency, and I was barely 2 when he won MVP in '96. So I'd go with Machado at third. Shortstop, I would probably put Fernando Tatis Jr. back at short because I don't think he's really an outfielder. I could have gone Khalil Green, but Khalil didn't really have a big enough impact, I think, on the club because he was always hurt and he was very hard on himself when he would not perform well. There's been stories that have been documented of him punching water coolers and breaking his hand when he would strike out after a game was over or stuff like that. Believe me, he was a great player to watch. But I think just like long-term impact though on the team, I'd go with Fernando over Khalil. Left field wise, I mean, it's not going to be Juan Soto, sadly. I would probably go with Greg Vaughn, 50 homer season in '98. I think he was like top 3 in MVP voting that year too. I think he was also team MVP because without Vaughn, the Padres would they not have been as good as they were that season. Center fielders, my all-time favorite Padre player, Steve Finley, multiple-time Gold Glove winner, had a knack for walk-off grand slams and walk-off hits in big moments. And of course, the right fielder is no one other than Mr. Padre Tony Gwynn Sr. I mean, not just him as the player, him as the coach. I got to learn from Tony when he was coaching at San Diego State, and he really helped change my swing. And obviously his whole career staying here for 20 years and all the accolades and numbers and how he was with the fan base and the media. DH-wise, though, would be Caminetti. He'd be my DH. And my starting pitcher for the Padres, honestly, though there's been a lot of good, solid pitchers I've seen, it's Kevin Brown, and Hell's Bells is coming in to close it out, and Trevor Hoffman.
Yeah, I was gonna say
You
would have to go with Trevor Hoffman at closer, man.
yeah, you had a run-in with Tony Gwynn as a coach?
Yeah, so when Tony was coaching at San Diego State, this is a really cool story, but when Tony retired, he ended up becoming the head coach at San Diego State. 2 very good friends of my older brother and our family, for that matter, who played with my brother in high school, played for Tony when they were at San Diego State. So there was a couple of summers where Tony had his kids doing fall practices at Tony Gwynn Stadium at SDSU. And I think it was in between my junior and senior year, and I was going on my 3rd year of playing varsity baseball, and the first 2 years were absolute crap. I was very overmatched going from like lower level high school ball to the varsity ranks. You know, kids are bigger, stronger, and faster. So Tony literally pulled me aside and had me work with his second baseman, Mitch Blackburn, who was playing for him. So Mitch was also a senior at SDSU. There were a lot of times where Mitch and I would be in the batting cage, and Tony would be behind with my dad observing my swing, and he'd be like, you know, whispering in my dad's ear. Then literally, I am getting hitting lessons from the single greatest hitter I've ever watched. And literally, my last year playing the game, it was like this. Like everything finally did that, and I ended up hitting like 315 that season. Second league, second team all league. I was going through the recruiting process of maybe getting a scholarship to play at Creighton University. The White Sox were in on me. The Brewers were in on me. And I remember my dad telling one of the scouts one day, don't even bother asking Cal if he's going to play after high school, because when he's done, he's going to go into broadcasting. But no, anytime that I think of Tony Gwynn, I think of being in his last ever game in October of 2001. And I think about when he passed. Me and my family were spending time with family up at Knott's Berry Farm. We had just come off the freeway, and a friend of mine texted me saying that Tony had passed. And when that happened, I was in a very emotional wreck, not because of what Tony meant to the city and the Padre organization and having seen him play, the back of his career. And one other story I love sharing. I don't want to go too long here, but back in the early 2000s, the Padres used to do photo day at Qualcomm on like one given Sunday. So you would go out there. They would actually give fans like a Fujifilm 35 millimeter, disposable camera for photo day. So it was Tony's last season. And that year, the Padres also had Ricky Henderson on his second stint with the club in 2001. So I got a picture with Ricky, and then lo and behold, Tony's coming in from the first baseline. And the crowd starts getting very ambiguous and very out of control as Tony's getting closer to where. So me and some teammates are against these, we're at the front of these bike racks to see all the players. the crowd gets very out of control. They start like body checking me and my friends into this, metal bike rail. And as Tony's coming, he sees that this is happening. And I kid you guys not this, or I kid you not. Tony goes like this. He puts his arms in the air and just starts barking at the fans. Like, folks, listen up. I got 4 Little League ball players right in front of me here. And if you folks don't stop crushing these kids into this guardrail, I'm going back into the clubhouse. No questions asked. It was literally like a coach getting on his players for, dicking around in practice.
Nice.
Everyone finally backed up, and we all got to, get our pictures taken. But I mean, you could talk hitting with Tony 24/7. I remember there was a practice that we were at, and I was like already done for the day. And I just remember like talking this guy's ear. I remember talking Tony's ear off, and my parents were like trying to pull me away. I'm like, no, like he's giving me a lot of really good information. Like he was breaking down some ABs of mine. He would even tell me about some of his at bats, like when he got his 2000th hit against the Rockies that my folks were at. Like he would break down every square inch of your swing, like your stance, your pivot foot, your hands loading back in time, going the other way with the pitch on the outer third. Like he really simplified hitting, which is why I think that Tony Gwynn, Pete Rose, and Ted Williams are the 3 greatest hitters of all time. And I throw Carew in there too for like a 4. And yeah, I mean, I just feel very grateful to have been able to, not just watch Tony Gwynn play, but grateful for the lessons he helped, a kid who was just trying to get better and just play the game for fun, but he made it so damn easy to figure out how to actually hit the ball the right way. I'll leave it at that.
All right, so thank you for that. Thanks, everybody, for doing their all-time lineups. Now we'll go into our final thoughts for the evening. So, Mr. Crispy Bacon, what are your final thoughts for the evening?
Yeah, thanks everyone for watching, tuning in. On decks this weekend, we'll cover the games as well, kind of preview those series, and then on deck or morning tailgate on Sunday. So tune in for those shows coming up. And we got Fourth Rows on Friday too.
All right, Big B, your final thoughts.
Nah, thanks. It's always good to chit chat. The Major League all-time lineups for each of our teams I thought were phenomenal. Catch out everything on C2C, especially C2C Rancom. Me and Tim are coming up on 1 full year of doing it, so November will be our premiere for the 2nd year.
All right, and James.
Yeah, look out for Coast to Coast for some new programming, hopefully coming up soon. It's going to be a great sports weekend. You have the football, you have baseball playoffs, and then you have the WNBA finals starting off with the Liberty and Aces, just like we all predicted, I think. So that's going to be fun.
Yet again, though, it's in the middle of a damn NFL Sunday like it usually is. That's what more so infuriates me.
Mm-hmm. All right, and then Callan, your final thoughts.
No, glad to be able to hop on, getting off work tonight. Nice to be able to talk a little baseball, talk the postseason, and then it's always fun to like putting together like your franchise's like all-time best from when you've been watching the game. Just as a reminder, real quick, but again, I'll be off once more for my program tomorrow. I got some stuff to catch up for work. Got a bit of a busy day with work tomorrow before my actual game starts at 7 o'clock tomorrow local time. So we'll be back with you next Thursday. But there is some pretty interesting stuff brewing, though, with the sports business side. As James said, the WNBA finals starting up, though, but the league is going to be adding a 13th team on Thursday up in the San Francisco Bay Area to be owned by the Warriors. There's also talk of them adding a 14th club in 2 years, they're saying as well, somewhere on the East Coast. And also the NHL is set to debut a NFL Red Zone style program on October 24th on ESPN2, where all 32 clubs will be playing. John Buccigross, the lead voice of the NHL, will be in charge of that program, so we'll see how that goes. And, big sports weekend coming up. Baseball playoffs, the NHL preseason's winding down, another week of NFL football starting on Thursday. So, keep it tuned to Coast to Coast. Plenty of great content coming your way as the next couple days go by.
All right, so thanks, everybody, for watching again. And like James said, we do have some more, some newer shows that are coming up the pipeline here, so watch out for that. And for that, we want to thank everybody for watching. We'll see you next Wednesday for another episode of Sports Minute.